In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. First published 100 years ago, almost to the day, in December 1918, written in 1915 by Canadian physician Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. In Flanders Fields remains one of the most moving pieces of literature ever spoken in the modern era. I bring it to you today, lest we forget. And I want to welcome you to Dead to Rights, the Remembrance Day special. I'm your host, Donna Carrick. We've got a really great show for you today. We're bringing you an interview with poetess Helen Burke, who lives in the UK. I don't have a review for you today. I will be reading Michelle Obama's book once it's released. It has not yet been released. And actually, I do plan to listen to it on Audible rather than read it. So I'll be bringing you a review of that in the near future. But for today, I don't have a review for you. Since the late 1970s, Helen Burke's poems have appeared in pamphlets, on greeting cards, on pieces of origami, on radio, on tape, on CD, on the side of stray dogs, and in a million other places, including more recently 2 collections from Valley Press, including the one I'm going to be speaking with Helen about today, titled Today the Birds Will Sing. And now, without further ado, please welcome Helen Burke, author of Today the Birds Shall Sing.
Hello, hi Donna.
Good morning, Helen, and welcome to Dead to Rights. How are you today?
I'm extremely well, and hope you are the same yourself, yeah.
Yes, I am. And where are you located exactly?
We are located in York, England, Old York.
Okay.
New York, Old York, yeah.
And is that in the north
in the
of
north of England, yeah.
Okay. So your weather is good today? I see pictures from people posting online.
Yeah, we're keeping busy and busy today, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good. I wanted to talk to you about your poetry because I know from looking at your bio that you and I are of the same generation. And I know that there are still some poets left in the world, of course, but I wonder whether young people are really accessing poetry in the way that I certainly think they should. And you've got a gorgeous book out, which I've purchased and I've started to read, called Today the Birds Will Sing. And
go on, how lovely, thank you.
Yeah, and I think you've also got a brand new book out too, called The Whisper of Birds. Is that right?
Whisper of Birds is hot off our press here, nestling in front of me on the table here, yeah. It's absolutely brand spanking new off the press, yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Yes. I didn't see that one when I was looking online. And you've also got some CD called Rainbow's End. Now, is that poetry readings?
That is poetry reading. That is me reading a variety of poems, old and new, with music by a very dear friend in America, in Florida and Rhode Island, Kevin Keogh, who is a Grammy nominee person, yeah.
Oh, lovely. That's nice. So you've got it scored and everything. I wanted to hear a little bit about Today the Birds Will Sing. What brought you to bring that collection of poems together in particular? Because you've got some lovely pieces in it.
Thank you very much. What it is, Donna, it's a compilation really of my misspent years writing poetry really over the last 40 years. My publisher put it to me that I might want to combine all the various different books that I'd done in under one sort of heady little volume, and that is really what we set out to do. It's stuff that's never been published before in the early part of it, and then it's the various other booklets that I've done over the years, and we've just run amok really, and amalgamated them all into that one book. Yeah.
And I mean, that's a really wonderful idea, and your cover is gorgeous too for that. So it really does draw people in. I'm assuming that you do readings. Do you do public readings of your poems?
I do. Yes, I've done readings for the last 40 years all over the world, really. I did some readings in America. I did readings in New York and Rhode Island. I've read in Paris. I've read in Belgium. I've read all over the place, really, and all over the UK. And
have you been to Canada?
We haven't, not as yet. No.
So you'll have to do that. The reason I ask about your public readings is I want to get a sense of, is my gauge correct that younger people, I'm hoping that they're starting to access poetry a little bit, but my sense is that maybe they haven't really been made aware of poetry in the way that they should.
I agree. I do. I think you're very right with that. I read an article recently, which I wonder if you can resonate with, about referring to that poetry voice. Yeah? And I'm sure if you've been to as many poetry readings as I've been to, you're aware that there is now a sort of school or métier out there that reads in a very deadpan way on poetry voice. And I think this tends to put younger people off.
I'm sure it would.
I'm sure you do the same. I try to read wild and wide and wacky and say, hey, poetry isn't about, cutting your wrists and reading Chaucer. Poetry can actually be fun.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I think that poetry for prose writers like myself, in every genre, having an access to poetry and to the cadence and to the rhythm and to the real meaning behind words on all layers, I think it lends so beautifully to prose writers that those who don't have an access to poetry, I think they're really missing out on something.
I quite agree. I mean, I know you sort of crime and spy and all sorts of wonderful mystery stuff that you write. But I mean, I think if you turn that again, as I'm sure you do, into poetry, people have got, as you say, they've got another chance to have a look at the cadence and the rhythm and the beauty of the world, and you can suddenly glimpse it. And it can be shorter, it can be concise, or it can even be a long ballad. But it can hold your interest and maintain your interest, and it can say such a lot in a different way to prose, but in just a wondrous way, I think, anyway.
Yes, and it becomes almost a physical thing, the poetry. Like I find when I want to reach deeper as a writer, this will sound maybe a little bit silly, but my eyes have to close, and it has to come from within, and it becomes a voice that it can't possibly be plagiarized because it comes from so far deep within that it has to be unique.
Absolutely, yes, and I'm just being put in mind of Emily Dickinson there. I've just got a poem going shortly in an anthology where she's going to be featured as well, and I'm just so honoured because I guess she's my all-time favourite poet of all time. I was very lucky to go around Amherst when we were over in the States, and I just resonate so much with her uniqueness and her unusual voice. I mean, there's only one Emily Dickinson in everybody's lifetime, and just so wonderful, yeah.
Yes. Now tell me a little bit about the CD that you've got out now, which I believe is called Rainbow's End.
It is, yeah. It's a variety of pieces on it. We've got, and it's got all our own artwork on the cover and the back, same as Today the Birds has and Whisper Birds, because that's all mine and my partner's artwork. The whole time we utilise that. And the poems on the new CD with Kevin's music are just a very wide-ranging, really, written, I guess, over the last 2 years, and one or two a little bit before then. So, it's kind of, hopefully, kind of something that will catch everybody's eye and that everybody can enjoy, I hope, yeah.
So they're relatively new pieces. I know that you've got pieces that span over quite a number of years, but these are relatively new pieces on Rainbow's End, the CD. And where is it available for purchase? It
is available for purchase from Phil's website, yeah. Our joint website, I should say, which is www.crazyphils.co.uk. And a lot of my books, you've probably seen them on there at the moment.
And just give that website one more time, please.
Yeah, surely. www.crazyphils.co.uk. It's crazy with a K, as you know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because this is all audio, so there's nothing to see, you know. Nothing to see here,
really,
folks, but please listen. And the book, The Whisper of Birds, is it available for sale now, or is it pre-order, or?
That also can be pre-ordered on that website. If people just email Phil from that website, we can get those items to them at any one point, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, what span of time does The Whisper of Birds cover? Is it also mostly recent pieces, or are there older pieces?
They're a selection, really, I would say. Some older ones. It's all about birds, obviously. Poems about birds, because I love the freedom and the flight of birds. So the ones in there are both old and new. Old and new, so old and new ones, yeah.
Okay. Well, as you know, because we did discuss this in advance, I would love to have you read a piece, any piece that you think is appropriate. Now, we're going to air this on November 11th, so I don't know if you've got a piece that brings a particular piece to the soul. That would be really wonderful.
I have, because when you said that, I thought, this is when you're going to air this selection here. I have a poem here that won which is a very big prize in Britain called the Manchester Poetry Prize, and it's called the Grins. And it's about an amazing thing that my father did in the war of getting 40 prisoners out from Belgium and France. He got them out to freedom under cover of night. And it's about that, the guy judging the contest.
That is wonderful.
I know. I thought, do you feel that might be appropriate?
I really do, yes. I think that would be perfect, Helen. Thank you.
Okay. Shall I launch in? Yep.
Yes, please do.
This is the Grins. Trees, hundreds of them, slim warriors, leaf bright blades. Between two of them he saw the smallest face. They were on the Grins, the border. To this smallest, frightened face that looked from behind the border, that was trees, he made a sign. My father made the sign of the cross, called out, "You have found a friend in the trees." He imparts good news slowly, with a king's air, still does. "How many are you?" he asked. The voice returned him, 40. To take the wrong track at the border is easy done, so he must take them the longest route, but the safe one. Through the thickest of the forest they flitted, his own collection of butterflies, to freer soil. It was dark before they parted, at the midnight. Crossing over, the last of them turned, made his own sign of the cross to a face between the trees, a young soldier. Left its shape there in the wind just above his head, a benediction on the front, the chance returned to them their souls. How many are you? The wind returns it. 40.
Helen, that's just beautiful. That is absolutely, beautiful isn't the right word. I mean, I do have chills listening to it. I really do. It takes you back to history. And it speaks to what we touched on very briefly, but we're going to talk more about the cadence and the resonance of the actual words, the individual words, you know. And this,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and this is a skill that I really encourage writers to try to acquire. And I want to ask you, what drew you first to poetry, and how did you know that you were acquiring that skill?
I don't know, it's quite asking. That's a tough one, Donnie, what drew me to poetry was, unfortunately, I used to be a dancer, but I got arthritis. And when I couldn't do that, I thought, well, I've got to dance somehow. So I began to dance with words. And that was what initially drew me to poetry at age 19, when I was actually going off to college to do a degree.
Dancing with words, indeed. And that has been Helen Burke, poetess from the UK and author of Today the Birds Shall Sing. I want to really thank Helen for bringing us that beautiful outlook on words and on how they should be used to dance, because words are an art as well as a communication. They are how we reach each other on one of the most primitive levels. So to all the authors out there, I encourage you, study your poetry, no matter what your genre for writing. Thank you, Helen. And now, in keeping with our Remembrance Day theme, I'm going to read to you from one of my favorite poems titled Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full, the moon lies fair. Upon the straits, on the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling, at their return up the high strand. Begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once, too, at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy nor love nor light, nor certitude nor peace, nor help from pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. And that was Matthew Arnold, born 1822, died 1888, still as relevant today as it was then. Thank you for joining us this week on Dead to Rights. If you're a published author and would like to be interviewed by myself, please contact me at carrickpublishing@rogers.com and say Dead to Rights interview in the subject line. You can find us, Dead to Rights, at Facebook or on Twitter at Dead to Rights Pod. You can find, of course, myself and Alex on Twitter, Donna_Carrick or Alex_Carrick or at Carrick Pub. And we're also on Facebook. All music for Dead to Rights has been composed and performed by Ted Carrick. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
A dusty road, a man alone. His vital signs go on hold. And I don't know what you've been told, but the years have turned my eyes gold. And I told you what you told me, we'd never be in the same boat for free. Yet it rides, let it rock.